You're listening to Business Stories with Ryan R. Karachi, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs become even more successful. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Stories podcast. If you don't know me, I work with a lot of franchise consultants and brokers and people in the franchising industry. One of the biggest challenges they have is working with people who have motivation to buy a business or buy a franchise. They want to be an entrepreneur, but the biggest roadblock to them doing it is financing and getting the money and figuring out how to do that. And my guest today, Kenny Rose, is the founder of Franshares. He's going to talk all about how to approach that with the people you're working with and what you can do to help those folks achieve that dream, even though they think they may not be able to because of that financial roadblock. So, Kenny, thank you for being here. It's good to talk to you. Tell us about your background and what inspired you to start this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Originally I was in finance. I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, but I found my way into the franchise brokerage consultant space. I worked with FranNet for about 5 years, and then started my own shop with under the IFPG umbrella and ran that for another 5 years. And over time, I realized that I was having this problem that people who have the capital oftentimes don't want to actually run the business. They want someone else to run it for them. Semi-absentee is not even an option for them. On the other side, you also have people who have all the experience, meet all the qualifications except for the finances. They've got all the background that would make them a great franchisee, but not that net worth and liquidity.
Yep.
So we created Franshares to bridge the gap. It's investors that are investing directly into franchisees to start or grow their locations. So investors get a fully passive and can also go under their minimum. So if they're not looking to put out a couple 100,000, but they might be willing to put out 20,000, be able to find something for them that's going to meet their portfolio approach to owning a franchise.
Mhm. That's interesting. So, walk us through how that process works. Because if you're a broker or a consultant, obviously there has to be some sort of a vetting process or validation before they can just jump in and get an investor to say yes, right, or work with them. So what does that process typically look like?
Yeah. So for the franchisee side of things, we vet pretty heavily on three areas: the brand, the operator, and the opportunity. We want to find brands that have a lot of traction. We typically are not going to work with emerging brands because then we have to educate investors not just on franchise investing, but this brand they've never heard of.
You're right.
We also want to make sure that the brand is improving over time. Locations are growing, same store sales are going up, that the financial performance is there. Then we look at the operator. We don't really want the corporate refugee who's hoping to make a transition to small business because that's a risk already. And now you're putting that risk on investors. So instead, it's, who's someone who was like the district manager of a brand for years and has all the experience, but just because they worked for a brand, don't have the net worth and liquidity there.
Yep.
We want to make sure they have a good performance background of running franchises. Again, you think about it from the shoes of the investors. Why would I invest in this person? And then finally, the opportunity, which is a part where we help them out with on like how you put together an investment structure that's going to reward investors, but still reward the franchisee as well. And we have a lot of experience working with different brands and industries on how they do that. We also connect them with other attorneys that specialize in the space that can help them put something together. But at the end of the day, we're not saying here are your terms, take it or leave it. We're not an investment bank or private equity. We're a
Mm,
marketplace.
yes.
So we want to make sure it's something that investors want to invest into, but is still also going to be fair to the franchisee. From the investor side of things, we do like know your customer and anti-money laundering. Some investments are open just for accredited investors only, but we're opening up more for non-accredited investors, which will open up a large base that hasn't been able to be a part of the franchise world before.
Hmm. So if you're a broker or consultant listening to this, obviously they have to know the right questions to ask to see if this is going to be a viable option for their candidates. So what are the best questions to ask? How should they really vet their candidates to see if this is something that's worth the time for them to consider?
Yeah. Well, from the consultant point of view, I think they've already vetted them. It's just they
Yeah,
didn't know what to do with them.
right.
It's who are the people that don't have the liquidity or net worth. who are the ones that even may have it, but just will not lift a finger to run a franchise
Yeah.
and don't even want to manage a manager. It's who doesn't have the time or the money or the skill set to do it. Those are all the ones that would be great to passively invest in franchises instead for a fractional amount.
Hmm.
If you're looking to get someone funded, it's for one, you're already doing diligence on the brand. So like again, we can't work with emerging brands necessarily. But then from an operator point of view, it's why would people invest in you to do this?
Hmm.
Uh, and you got to hear things that are, think about like venture investing. You want to hear that they have the background, the drive, the grit, and the plan to do it.
Yeah.
Um, you don't really want to hear, I'm just sick of the corporate world.
Right.
You want to hear direct experience that is going to really excite someone to invest in them to continue their growth path.
So do you have any stories or examples of, I mean, obviously client names can be confidential, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying, can you share any specific scenarios that kind of give us good examples of this?
great question. So on the franchisee side, we worked with a great husband-wife team. They were store launchers for Buffalo Wild Wings. Like together, they opened 150 locations. So
Wow.
great experience, but obviously didn't have $1 million to go start opening franchises.
Yeah.
So we raised for them to open a location. We told investors like, hey, plan for 4 years to ramp up to that item 19. Like you don't open the doors and money falls out.
Right.
But because they were direct, like actual owner operators with this direct experience, they beat that item 19 in the first year.
Wow.
And so, it was great to see that they're doing a seven-figure store with a six-figure cash flow right off the bat. Um, yeah, and then on the investor side, there's a lot of different examples from just the I've always wanted to do it, but I just don't have the money for it, all the way to the very investment-driven person who sees this as an asset
Yeah.
and they want to be able to deploy capital into it, but they've got a day job or retirement that they are not leaving for running a franchise.
Yeah. So for the brokers and consultants listening to this, if they've kind of done the vetting and they've really validated that this is an opportunity for you, what does the approach or the process look like for you? Or is it something where they would be introducing the candidate to you, or all of you get on a call and then kind of walk us through that approval and what happens with that too?
Yeah, so either way, I always suggest reaching out to us either from the website or connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because if it's your dead leads that you're trying to turn into mailbox money, we actually get you set up with a affiliate program so
Okay.
that you actually get paid on every person that comes through.
Okay.
And there's ways where you can, like working with Client Tether, like automate these things. So people that you haven't been able to talk to, that you haven't been able to get across the finish line, like, hey, let's just turn them into mailbox money and automate this process that's going to get multiple touch points to educate them on this new way to invest in franchising.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, if you've got like a great candidate with hands-on experience, reach out to me directly and tell me about your client. Like I'd love to connect and learn more and see if they're a good fit. But again, we're not looking for someone who's I know the profile pretty well. A
Yeah.
lot of times we'll get, hey, I've got this guy who's coming from a career in IT. He wants to go start a McDonald's,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have the money. It's like, well, he doesn't have the experience either. So we want
Right.
to make sure that they have someone with that experience that you can really bank on.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the little client tether slip in there. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yes, you can
I love
automate this to your old database. And I tell people, and I'm surprised at how many consultants, people out there are not thinking about avenues like this and then looking to do some automated outreach to remind people that this opportunity is there. And it's a reason to come back and reconnect and talk about this stuff. Because I feel like don't just dispose of those old leads and say, hey, they're never going to work with me. There are opportunities out there if you just do a little bit of digging. So I think it's worth doing that. And Kenny's out there to tell you that there's opportunities, there's options out there for these people if we just talk to them more and try to figure out what options are available to them. I think there's so many people who want to get into entrepreneurship and owning a brand, but they think that they can't because there's all these barriers to
yeah,
entry that are really not always there. So
yeah.
I think it's huge. So, and you said you work with a lot of established brands, Kenny. Can you talk to us about like the brands you work with and how do you select your brands, and why have you selected the brands that you've been working with in general?
Yeah, so I mean, we have worked with some younger brands with like that 100 to couple hundred locations open, like Hawaiian Bros,
Yeah.
Everbowl. We also are working with like the super well established brands, like we just launched with Pizza Hut.
Hmm.
We're launching pretty soon with Dunkin', as well as things like Choice Hotels, like the Comfort Inns, Sleep Inns of the world.
Yeah.
And we're selecting brands based on a couple different criteria. I'll be honest, notoriety is definitely one of them. Like
Yeah.
people want to invest in a brand they're familiar with, but also just because it's a brand they're familiar with doesn't make it a good brand, as we all know.
Right.
So that's why we're diving into the FDDs, talking to franchisees, and understanding, what the direction of this brand is going, and also like what the returns are like, and making sure that there is room for investors to be able to profit alongside with the franchisee.
Yeah.
And we're looking for brands that are continuing to grow, brands that are innovating, and brands that their franchisees are really happy about. I mean, again, a lot of the same things that consultants do with their clients, like we're doing for our investors, essentially.
Yeah.
And and we're also reaching out to the brands because they also know who the best operators are that are looking to raise to expand.
Right.
So when you go to a Dunkin' and say like, "Hey, who are your people who are really hands-on?" killing it, but like can't get another loan out there, but they've got this foundation to go build and scale. And they're happy to point us in the right direction there.
Yeah. That's great. Is there a barrier with emerging brands? I mean, is it something you'd ever consider, or do you think that if it's an emerging brand that has a viable, like, model that could really grow, would you ever consider
Oh,
looking at emerging brands as well?
I think emerging brands will be a huge part of the business down
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah.
It's just that we're basically getting our investor base understanding and educated with a whole new asset class.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you think about it like stocks, like if you're introducing people to stocks, you're gonna bring them to like the really steady eddies that they can be very confident in what they're gonna get.
Yeah.
You're not bringing them speculative stuff.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's what emerging brands are.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a world for speculative brands.
Yeah.
It's just that we're too early in it. Like people want to get very comfortable, very understanding, know how franchise investing works in the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And then when they're looking to re-up and maybe they've had some exits, that's when they're like, hey, I'd be up for going in for something earlier to get like this better territory because I
Yeah.
really like it or because this operator's so great.
Yeah. And I want to segue to in like people who just want to invest in brands through this as well, because people can just come in and passively invest into brands, not necessarily buy a business, but invest into brands. And I remember, gosh, I think it was years ago, you sent me like an email about Franshares, and I was like, that's kind of cool. You can invest in a franchise with your own money and not necessarily buy a business, but you can invest in the brands. So tell us a little bit about that side of it too, if you can.
Yeah, so I mean, the vast majority is investing into actual franchise locations
Okay.
and getting the cash flow from it as well as the equity growth. But we do occasionally like a franchisor raise, and that's where it might be a bit emerging. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation because you don't want to do too emerging, but also when they're too far along, they're courting all the private equity offers, and no one I know has enjoyed working with private equity, but their checks are very large,
Yeah.
and so it's an area that I hope that we will replace down the road and basically get people into these brands that have, a couple hundred locations that are in that expansion area but aren't going for the billion exit yet.
Yeah. This has been really good. So, if you're a broker or consultant listening out there, you have a candidate who might be a good fit for this. Kenny, can you walk us through where do they go to find out about you? What can they do? Is it best to go through the website? Just kind of explain how to contact you and get that
Yeah.
process
So,
started.
well, first and foremost, like add me on LinkedIn. I'm always
Yeah.
very communicative there and very easy to reach. But also, if you go to our website, franshares.com, you can learn more about this offering as a whole. But then also, if you go to our partners page, you can go and submit your information, some stuff about you or your client to let us know, and then we'll get you in. Either I will reach out or our head of growth will, who can get you set up on the affiliate program there.
And a little bit about that too. How does that work? So do partners they have to be vetted by you, or is there some sort of approval process? And then like typically, if you can talk about a little bit about how the payouts work too on
Yeah.
that.
So, If it's an investor that's coming in, basically we get you set up with an affiliate form so that basically we don't want you losing track of people that you refer over.
Yeah.
And so it's a sign up link that's got a unique URL that's going to tie them to your name.
Okay.
Um, and basically, so then when you're like using Client Tether to blast out to everyone, you don't have to worry about, oh, what if they just go and like find Franshares elsewhere? It's like, well, they're going to use your link and you're going to get tied for it and you're going to get credit for it.
Right.
And the affiliate program varies, but generally we're giving like a portion of like their upfront fee as well as the annual fees that come in over time.
Okay.
Uh, it's not going to be your traditional consultant placement fees, but considering it's mailbox money, everyone's been very happy with it.
Yeah.
Uh, and Yeah, and then on the other side, if you've got a candidate that could be interested, it's really like an interview process to get started. Like I'm usually the first call with them to learn more about their experience and as
Yeah.
operators. We'll also do a whole lot of our own diligence on the brand itself, but um, we don't like saying send us over spreadsheets right away. Like we want to get a feel for the person to get started,
Right.
and so that's why it's like send over an overview just so we can at least say like, hey, this brand's nothing like what we're looking for, or hey, their experience is nothing like we're looking for, just because I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Right.
But yeah, it's very much like submitting to a brand for a lead there.
Well, this is great. If you're listening, you're a broker, consultant, franchisor, and you're looking for another avenue or opportunity for your candidates, reach out to Kenny. Go to franshares.com. Kenny Rose, he's on LinkedIn. Reach out to him. I really think if you're a consultant or broker and you're looking for an opportunity to move some people along who maybe have hit the wall with you, this could be a great option for them. Of course, you want to have them talk to Kenny, talk to them yourself before they go too far along. But I think this is a tremendous opportunity for those folks that really have the motivation, but just don't have the financial means right now. So thank you, Kenny. It's been a really good conversation. And as always, I'll keep pushing you out there. And I appreciate you mentioning Client Tether as well. And we'll have to keep in touch, okay?
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Hey, this is Ryan with the Business Stories Podcast. And if you're a franchisor, franchise consultant, broker, or just a small business owner, you've got to check out clienttether.com. It's an amazing sales automation tool that is revolutionizing the industry. If you want to learn more, go to clienttether.com and inquire within.